All right, welcome to the rundown. I'm going to be going over a few of the NBA free agency signings, and I want to start off with Marcus Smart signing with the Lakers for 2 years, $11 million. And this is just something that the Lakers had to do. I know it isn't ideal with Marcus Smart's injury history. He's only played in 54 games over the past two regular seasons, but the Lakers just didn't have any depth at the guard position whatsoever. One of the guys that they were relying upon was Gabe Vincent, and while he's played okay in the regular season, just in the playoffs, he hasn't played that well. In 2024, he shot 25% from the field, and in 2025, he shot 35% from the field. And when you have a guy off the bench shooting that poorly, it's just not going to cut it, especially in today's NBA where depth is more paramount as ever. And even though Marcus Smart has been injury prone, does have a lot of experience. He's been a starter on a finals team. He's played in multiple big playoff games throughout his career in Boston, and he knows what it takes to win at a big level. And the hope is that he can stay healthy throughout the regular season. He can stay healthy for a playoff run, and he can take some of Gabe Vincent's minutes away. And the Lakers are pretty low on the guard position, and I guess one of the players that they're going to rely upon is Bronny. He has played well in the summer league, and reportedly, the plan is to give him 10, 15 minutes a night, and I don't know, why not just try him out and see what he can do for 10, 15 minutes a night. I guess the big question is whether or not he's going to get playoff minutes. I mean, he was raw coming out of college, and he just needs a lot of help with his development, and I just don't know if he's going to be ready for big-time playoff games when the playoffs roll around in 2026. But hopefully Marcus Smart can mentor him, show him the ropes, and just show him, how to come off the bench and just, how to lead a team. I think the Lakers need probably another guard, but I think with Marcus Smart taking some of Gabe Vincent's minutes and then Gabe Vincent having to play spurred minutes in the playoffs, I mean, that isn't horrible, but ideally you would want another guard. And I also like the Lakers' other two bench players. I like how they have Jackson Hayes coming off the bench. He can play off the bench in the regular season, but depending on the playoff matchups, he's going to need to sit some games like he did towards the end of the Minnesota series. And they also have Jared Vanderbilt. I mean, he's a good defender, but unfortunately, he's just been injury prone. He's played in 65 games throughout two regular seasons, but reportedly, he's getting healthier. So if he can stay healthy, Marcus Smart can stay healthy, and then they have Jackson Hayes. I think that's an okay bench, but I think they need another reliable wing to come off the bench for them, and then they will be in better shape to come out of the West. But I like the roster still with LeBron, Austin Reeves, Luka Doncic, Aiton, and Rui Hachimura in the starting five. I think that's a great starting five, assuming everybody can stay healthy. And like I've said before, I think that Luka is going to come out better because he didn't play well in the playoffs. This time around, he had some injuries. His conditioning wasn't the best, but it looks like he's really focusing on his conditioning this time around, and he's going to be more healthier throughout the regular season, and he might be an MVP candidate. So I'm all in on Luka Doncic having a quote unquote bounce back season. And with that starting five with Luka carrying the load and LeBron and Austin Reeves carrying some of it, and them having like an okay bench, I think that's good enough for 50 wins in the West. They just need like a couple more guys to come off the bench. But in the playoffs, anything can happen. I mean, nobody thought Indiana would make the finals. Nobody thought the Heat would make the finals in 2023. So anything can happen with certain matchups going certain ways. But I think the Lakers have a pretty good roster. They just need a couple more pieces to take them over the top. And who knows, they might find somebody in the trade market or in the buyout market once the regular season progresses. But I like this signing for the Lakers, and hopefully Marcus Smart can stay healthy and just make it a good deal. Now I want to talk about Chris Paul going to the Clippers. I like this for Chris Paul. And he was amazing this past season with San Antonio. I mean, the guy played all 82 games. I mean, I know he played 28 minutes, averaged about that, but I mean, still, to do that as a 6 foot guard is amazing. And the fact that Chris Paul has been able to play this long and still be like an effective player is nothing short of amazing. I love it. And I imagine that with the Clippers, he'll get more or less of those same minutes, maybe like 20, 25 minutes more or less. And I like this for Chris Paul because he's going to be on a good team to end his career. Now, I know a big if is whether or not Kawhi Leonard can stay healthy. And Who knows if that's going to happen or not because it just hasn't been able to happen from start to finish. But hopefully, he's able to stay healthy. And I like how Chris Paul is going to end his career on a good team because so many players, Hall of Fame players, star level players, they've just ended their career on just bad teams. And I don't know. It kind of stinks. I like it when, NBA players are able to play on a good team, even if they aren't the same players they were before. It's still good to, like, see them competing at a high level. I mean, Jordan with the Wizards, that wasn't a good team. Kobe with the Lakers towards the end, that wasn't a good team. Dirk with the Mavs towards the end, that wasn't a good team. Dwayne Wade with the Heat. I mean, Dwayne Wade still played pretty well, but the Heat unfortunately just weren't a playoff team at all. So I think if everybody stays healthy for the Clippers, he'll be able to like compete at a high level in the playoffs, which is good for him. And it's also good for Chris Paul to just go back to the Clippers, kind of like, where he was able to really, really, really like, make a name for himself further. I mean, he was already a great player in Charlotte, but, he did some good things with the Clippers with like Lob City and gave that franchise like life when it really didn't have any life before. So that's good. Excuse me. And with the Clippers, I mean, I like them as a second round team. I really like the pieces they have off the bench with Bogdanovich, Batum, Derrick Jones Jr. They can absolutely be a top six team in the West again if they're able to stay healthy and make it to the second round of the playoffs. So, I like this for the Clippers, and it's a good way for Chris Paul to end his career. Now, I want to talk about Damian Lillard going back to the Trailblazers for 3 years for $42 million. And I want to say that I'm surprised, but I'm actually not. I thought in the back of my mind that this would be possible. I mean, the fit in Milwaukee, like I said before in other videos, it just didn't work out, and they just weren't able to like win at the level that lots of people thought they were gonna win at. I mean, I think lots of people thought that when they got Dame, they would have won 50 plus games. They would have made it to at least an Eastern Conference Finals, potentially an NBA Finals, but unfortunately, the cookie didn't crumble that way. And there were also reports how like Dame was a little bit like I guess I don't a little bit sad or like depressed about the fact that he was so far away from his family. But now that he's going back to Portland, he's able to like stay near his family, which is something that he's always wanted. And I think that was all worth it for Dame because in Portland the first time around it just didn't end that well. He wanted to go to Miami when he first asked for a trade request, and he didn't get that request. He got sent to Milwaukee instead. And you would think that a guy of Dame Lillard's caliber, a guy who stayed loyal to Portland when most other stars honestly wouldn't have stayed loyal to Portland and would have ran at the first opportunity they got. He wanted to stay there and he wanted to build a championship contender there, but unfortunately it just didn't happen. And you would think a guy who stayed loyal throughout so many years would get his request granted, would get it, but he didn't. Even KD got his request granted when he wanted to go from Brooklyn to Phoenix, and he didn't do anything for Brooklyn, but he still got his request granted. And you'd think, well, someone like Lillard would get his, but that didn't happen. And there was also a moment in time where he took back his trade request, and the general manager Joe Cronin was like, "No, sorry, we're going to trade you anyways," which reportedly was kind of a shock to Dame Lillard, and they really didn't treat him well on his way out the door. But for him, I guess that didn't matter. He still has a lot of love for the organization, and he wanted to be close to his family. I guess just on Portland's viewpoint, I wonder just how they're gonna like distribute the minutes and everything. I mean, Dame is obviously not gonna play this year, and I guess even if he does play, it's gonna be towards the end of the regular season. But I don't think that they're gonna do that to Dame. They got Drew Holiday, who was supposed to be that veteran mentor for, the Scoot Hendersons, the Shaden Sharps of the world. But, with Dame there, I wonder how they're going to distribute those minutes because even though Dame is getting older and he's coming off an injury, he's a very competitive guy and he's a guy that's going to want to play. So I'm really interested to see how Portland distributes those minutes. But honestly, I guess that's something that they can worry about later. I mean, they're not exactly a team that's going to make the playoffs, and I'm sure that management knows that. And bringing Dame back into the fold and also bringing Drew Holiday in, I mean, it can't hurt to just have good veteran leadership and guys who've like played in big playoff games, and in Drew's case has won two NBA championships and can teach the young guys the ropes and just how to be professionals and just how to be great and help mentor Scoot and help him like be as great of a player that he can be. So they can worry about all that minute stuff later, but I like how they're bringing veterans into the fold. I mean, a lot of teams they just want to like stick with young guys, and like all the dudes are just competing for minutes and thinking that like they're going to be major stars and whatnot. But I like how they're bringing veteran leadership, and I think that's very important for young players just to see how to like be a professional and just like how to work. And I'm sure Dame and Drew will do that. So, good signing for Portland, and I'm glad that Dame is back in Portland where like his heart has always been. Now, I want to talk about the NBA potentially expanding. I mean, last week in the owners' meetings, there were like basic talks about like the NBA expanding, but Adam Silver said that it was pretty like basic. They haven't dived too deep into it yet, and they still have to do market research, still have to like research the local TV deals and understand like which markets they can potentially expand in. But I mean, the rumor is that it's going to be in Seattle and Vegas if it expands, and I'm sure that's probably what it's going to be when they do expand down the line. And just for me, selfishly, I want the NBA to expand to Seattle specifically because I'm from Seattle. It left a big hole in a lot of fans' heart when Seattle left for Oklahoma City, and like there's a big basketball culture here. It's not as big as the Seahawks, but there are lots of basketball fans here, and it would be great if like Seattle was able to get another basketball team because there are fans here that really do care about basketball. And what Las Vegas, I think that's another good market with gambling and everything, and it's also a major market, and they have football there, which has been going, so far pretty well. And I think those are two smart markets to pick from. And I think if you pick those two teams, you want to pick places where there's going to be great fandom, and Seattle is going to be one of those teams. And even though Seattle left for Oklahoma City, and that kind of broke my heart, I can't deny that the Oklahoma City fans are one of the best fans in the world, and they really do care about their team, and that's what you want when you're the NBA. You want the fans to care about the team. There's nothing worse than like showing up to like an empty arena and the fans are just not all that into a team. Like if you look at the New Jersey Nets when they went over to Brooklyn, like nobody really cared all that much. Even when KD and Kyrie and Harden were there, from my vantage point at least, it seemed that fans are just a lot more energetic and just passionate about the Knicks than they were the Nets, and there just wasn't all that passion about the Nets. I mean, there was from the media perspective because they had KD and Kyrie, but just from the fan perspective, it just didn't look like it at all. And when you're the NBA, you want to pick markets that fans are going to care about, and I think Seattle and Las Vegas will fulfill that. I guess one of the downsides maybe is just with having more talent. I mean, basketball players are just better than ever, but there have been teams that have been tanking, whether it's like, the Jazz, the Kings at some points, or the Hornets. And when you bring in two other teams, like, there's a chance that there's going to be even more tanking that happens, which is like not good for the league. I mean, the tanking has reduced some because like the lottery odds are more even, but still, even despite that, there's still teams that are going to try and tank and believe that, with like lesser amount of wins, they can get potentially the number one or number two or number three overall pick. But honestly, the hope is that with those two franchises, they're well run, they're competent, they have good management, and with good management, they can bring in like good players in, and they're not like the Sacramento Kings where they're just have a history of bad management and they're just never able to be like constant playoff contenders. But hopefully with Vegas and Seattle, that doesn't happen. And even if there is tanking here and there, I think that it's good just to like bring in more talent from like all over the world because the NBA is such a global game, and have more competition. I don't think that hurts at all. I guess one of the things that the NBA is going to have to keep in mind of is the conference realignments and everything, because currently it's like 15 teams in the West, 15 teams in the East, but with Vegas and Seattle, you're going to assume that both those teams are going to be in the West. So I don't know, maybe they might like put one team from the West to the East, like maybe the Memphis Grizzlies, because honestly Memphis, I think counts as like the East Coast more than it does the West Coast. So maybe they'll put a team like Memphis in the Eastern Conference, but I'm sure that the NBA can figure all that out. And even if there is like, a little bit more taking and a little bit like, I guess, more bad basketball play, the hope is that one of those teams can be good, and just with more competition that will make the league better. So I'm all for it, and I hope that the NBA expands down the line. And yeah, that's all I have for you guys. Thank you so much for watching.